Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the Facilities Committee meeting for Tuesday, January 2nd, 2024. This is our first committee meeting of 2024, starting time. And I will start first with a roll call, starting with Ms. Murphy.
Present.
Dr. Whiting, present.
William Mulhern, present.
Mia Blitzstein, present.
Charles Burdell Williams, present.
Jenny Lohman, present.
Zachary Epps, present.
Pamela Henry, present.
All right, great. And second, is there a motion to approve the meeting minutes from the December Facilities Committee meeting?
So moved.
A second.
All right, great. All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you, thank you. And I will turn it over to Mr. Holden for today's presentation and presenters.
Thank you.
Down.
Yes,
A lot of minutes.
Good evening. Good evening, everyone. Pleased to be here this evening. As you see, we have some visitors, hopefully partners on the wings. They're a revision. They're an architecture and sustainability consulting practice composed of purpose-driven people committed to revisioning and restoring the balance between natural, built, and social environments. I'm going to yield this part of my presentation so that they can come up and present. Good evening, everybody.
Good evening.
Good evening.
We'll stand up here if this is okay.
Yes.
Okay. Can you go to the first slide? Way back in the beginning. I'm Scott Kelly. I'm one of the founding partners from Revision Architecture. Thank you. Tonight we have Drew with us. Drew, you want to do an intro?
Sure. Drew Levine. I'm also a partner at Revision, architect there. I'm also a parent of 2 kids in the school district.
Yeah.
I have one at EP in 5th grade and one at Cedar Brook in 7th grade. Very excited to be able to be here to talk about the school district and think about this community that I'm a part of, a resident, and my kids are here. So I'm just very excited to be able to talk to you all about this.
Okay, so briefly for an agenda, I think we got about 15 minutes, so we will be brief, and I'll try to be thorough too. We're going to introduce ourselves. We're going to talk a little bit about our approach for sustainability, refer to our process a little bit, and then try to get to some next steps. Who we don't have with us, now that Drew's reminding me that I forgot, Christy Broussard. She's been with Revision 2 decades now, and she's really got a specialty in operations and maintenance in existing buildings. She's worked both in the construction realm and in the facilities realm for large organizations like the University of Pennsylvania. I wish she could be here tonight. She had a different obligation, so I am stepping in for her. Okay. Nope, gonna try the Mac way, right? It's hard for me. All right, so we did talk a little bit about ourselves. We are architects. That's what our basis is in. We do work on some very high performance buildings, adaptive reuse of buildings, older buildings. We work a lot with sustainability benchmarking systems, both physical, like in the built environment, but also social impact frameworks and community engagement. So we're used to doing a lot of facilitation. We also do a lot of master planning work, specifically around sustainability, helping organizations like you be better. Single click. Oh, yes. Okay. I learned quickly. But even though we work in all of those things, we have one mission. And we're run like a nonprofit to some extent. Our mission is to remove the barriers to you all planning, designing, constructing, and then operating your facilities in a green and sustainable way. That's why we're here. Okay, we're talking a little bit about sustainable design and our approach. We have to figure where on the spectrum you really want to be in sustainability, because there's some really light, common sense green stuff that we're going to talk. We know we're going to target that stuff, but we need to figure out like where on that spectrum of sustainability do you want to be, because we could go all the way to restorative if you want to go there. Maybe there's some single strategies that you want to pick from that realm, but we just need to figure out over time where you want to end up being. I forgot that played, my apologies. But we're trying to do that, and we're trying to like nudge you forward just a little bit. Figure out what strategies are right, are meaningful and purposeful for you. Kind of nudge you forward, give you that extra coaching to get to that final goal.
Now, can you give some examples of deep holistic restorative?
You ready? How about we make one of your buildings create all of its own energy, so much so that you give some to your neighbor. Manage all your stormwater, but not just manage it so it goes off your site, making part of it your teaching tool. Take it off the roof, clean it, use it to flush your toilets, clean it again, reuse it again. How about if we look at carbon neutrality? We gotta figure out where you wanna be.
Okay.
Okay? Okay. I did okay with that
That was
one?
great. Those are some good examples.
All right.
So you all are probably familiar with LEED, right? Yes, because we have a bunch of LEED buildings up in this. So, we look at, when we talk about sustainability, everyone's familiar with the categories in LEEDs. We have sustainable sites, energy and atmosphere, things like that. We tend to back up a little bit and say, what are the lenses of sustainability that we look at? And we have 7, right? It's pretty simple, right? Water, energy, health and happiness, equity and inclusion. This is part of sustainability. Not everyone thinks about it, but it is. Materials and waste, place and soil, and beauty. That's part of sustainability too. If we don't have beautiful, wonderful places, no one's going to care about them enough to take care of them. They're not going to be sustained. So these things really break down into 2 groups. We've got the ones that are about the built environment, the places that we are creating. Scott and I are constantly correcting ourselves because it's not just buildings. It's the built environment. It's the site also, because it's all part of what we're doing. And so these are the things that affect the built environment: the energy, the water, materials and waste, our soil, how we manage stormwater. These are all things that are kind of about the place that we're making. The other group, which I personally find very exciting, is about all of us within it. So we have the group that's about the object, and then the group that's about us within it, right? So we're really looking at, are we healthy? Are we thriving? Are our students learning? Are we creating an inclusive environment? Is it equitable to everyone, including the people who are building it? And how does beauty, craft, inspiration, and education play into that? And so when we think about a sustainability master plan, we'd like to step all the way back to understand what our values are. We want to work with you all in the community to figure that out. So just a couple of things before we get into kind of where we think that we're heading here is thinking about the value of a sustainability plan like this. And so it's really, this first one is critical: focused, aligned, and adopted sustainability vision. That adopted part is critical because we know that people come and go from the board, right? Because even a year ago, there's people who were here who aren't here today, and there's new people. I'm very excited about that. But we want to make sure that what we put in place is something that everyone's aligned with, and we say, yes, this is what we're doing for our community. Stakeholder consensus building. This is critical because if we don't have good, solid stakeholder engagement, then people aren't going to believe in this. It's just going to be something that's out there that they're told that they have to do. If we can kind of bring people along with it and get them to really contribute to it and help to shape it within the community here, it's going to be theirs too. Obviously, there's fiscal considerations here. Funding, this stuff is never straightforward. We got to figure out capital budgeting, grants, other kinds of fundraising and partnerships. It's a long process, and having the plan in place helps to chart that process. The other one is we absolutely want to be focused on operational expense reduction. It's a big reason why we do these things. It's all part of shoring up the financial future of the district when we think about these things. And it's got to be an educational tool, right? What we do here, and this is for me as a professional and as a parent, like such an amazing opportunity to be able to do this stuff and then use it to teach kids, use it to build curriculum around. So really great opportunities there. We are very excited for this. Yes, we put hearts on our presentation. So.
I didn't realize you did that.
It makes you uncomfortable. We're excited. The first one, it's a triple bottom line win for the community to do something about this. And, you know, when we say triple bottom line, we're talking about people, planet, and prosperity. So, you know, people are going, you know, the people who work in these buildings and these facilities will be working in healthier places. The students will be learning in healthy places. They're going to do better because we know that healthy environments have better learning performance. Obviously, there's going to be ecological benefits to this. There's going to be financial benefits to it. So it's just an all-around win for the community. We love stakeholder engagement, especially when we get to get in the ring with kids and learn from them and hear what's important to them and what their values are. It's always exciting when we get to combine education and a high-performing built environment. We don't always get to do that. Sometimes we work on schools. Sometimes we work on high-performing office buildings. Scott's sneaky. He's always putting education in our projects, even when people are like, oh, it's an office building. We still have to have the educational stuff because we have to teach people. I personally think that this is an opportunity for regional leadership from our school district. I think it's about attraction and retention of residents here in the township. It would be a big thing for us, I think, from the school district perspective. And then reinforce and advance our Cheltenham community values. We know sustainability is important in Cheltenham. We put it on our bumper sticker, right? And I think that having the school district at the center of that conversation, it would just be great for our community. You know, we're working on the township municipal projects, that whole thing, and the community is so vocal about sustainability. We are so far away from talking about the details of it, and they want to go straight to the details, and it gets our community excited. And I think that this is a great opportunity to put it in practice and lead the community. So what are we going to do here? So we've spent some time talking to Tim. I'm very familiar with a bunch of buildings because I got kids going through them. Christy went out and looked at a few buildings right before the holidays. I couldn't make it that day. So we're getting acquainted with all the buildings that we were not aware of. Been talking with Tim about some of the goals here. And so we have a preliminary approach. We want to talk to you all tonight, say, is this the right thing to do? Is this sound like the right approach here? But really what we're looking at is these three big chunks before we get to implementation. The first part is assessment. And to do this, I think we start with doing a more detailed building and site assessment. Make sure we spend time in each building to really focus on those 7 lenses and evaluate the buildings based off of that. We know that there's documents. You might have a couple of documents on these buildings. I think we're going to want to look at them to understand in particular a catalog of your systems in the building so we can understand what you're working with, dig into your utility bills to understand what your energy performance and your water performance look like. This is where we'll also start doing stakeholder listening sessions. I think we'll want to work with you all to figure out who the right stakeholder groups are. We have ideas, but you all know your, the groups the best. Once we get through that assessment piece, we go into an alignment phase. And this is where we really, we kind of come armed with the information. And then we'll facilitate sustainability visioning. Like Scott said, we got to figure out where the right place on that spectrum is. What are our goals? What are we shooting for? And we want to align ourselves around that. That'll feed into some more detailed programming around the sustainability implementations here. And then we'll start to develop this framework. This is going to be an important thing because it's kind of like we're going to develop this skeleton that we're then going to come back and fill in the detail. But it's what is going to make this most useful. And it's really through that stakeholder engagement and this visioning that we'll figure that out. The actual meat of the plan, when we get to that, we're going to create the full plan for development and then do some cost modeling. In particular, we'll want to be looking at return on investment as we start to phase out some old systems, phase in some new ones, look at energy efficiency along the way to really make the case, because we know it's not just enough to say this is the right thing to do ecologically. It's got to pencil out. It's got to make sense. We got to be able to it has to be defensible to our community. And then phasing recommendations. This is critical here. And the phasing recommendations are going to range from here's the low hanging fruit that you can start this summer to these are going to be the things that are going to be in the first few years, and then these are further around the bend. The other critical part of this phasing recommendation is the work that KCBA is doing right now, because we know we've got a lot of buildings that are fairly young, that are inside that 15-year window, and those are solid. The elementary schools, Cedar Brook, right? We know that that's where a lot of the low-hanging fruit is going to be. But we also want to be looking around the corner at some of the bigger projects that we know that are out there, the high school, whatever's going to happen to Elkins Park. I don't know. We know that. But these are the ones that we also, we have a good opportunity now to create the sustainability plan that'll then be implemented on those projects. So really great moment to be doing this.
And for the benefit of our newer board members, KCBA, they're the company or the architect, the firm that did the feasibility study for the district, just to give some context.
And to also add, they're also doing the same with the township. They contract with the township.
So KCBA, just for everyone here, we work with KCBA a lot, and we're very excited to be partnering with them on both the township and the school district, because one of the owners from KCBA is also a Cheltenham resident, has had kids go through the school district. So this is something that's very close to home for all of us. So
I think we have a 2-decade working relationship with KCBA.
yeah.
We've collaborated quite a bit.
So with that all said, I think that was the last one we had. I guess we're ready to get running. We've been working with Tim on this. Does this feel like the right direction for you all? And I can go back. Maybe that'll be helpful.
Can you? It's Max.
I'll get there. There we go. Any questions, comments?
Go to the board for questions.
I am just wondering, thank you, first of all, for that lovely presentation. I am excited about a lot of things that I hear you mentioning. I'm ready for the roof and the toilet. I would love to know, what is the timeline of the assessment phase?
Yeah, so the assessment phase, I think that probably the building and site assessments, that's something I think we'd want to get going in the next month or so we can really get into the buildings and kind of build this out. And we could really look, this might be a, 4 to 8 week phase, depending on how quick we get running here. And then we get into the visioning section here. I think we'd really like to get you a lot of information so you can start attacking this low-hanging fruit this summer. So at least if we can be targeting having a draft plan by the summertime, we might spend some more time over the summer to refine it, smooth it out. But I think what we'd like to try and do is figure out, have a really good sense of where we're headed by then.
If I can add, this thing is critical to us. That document review, because we got to figure out the quality of what you have and the quantity. And that will actually dictate a little bit on the schedule.
A big part of this also might be what KCBA has been doing in feasibility studies, because we know that they've also been looking at your facilities. We don't want to repeat any work that's done. I know that they do really solid building assessments, and there's going to be a lot of good work in there. So I think getting to figure out what's been done, as Scott said, the document review is going to help us a lot. If we can walk into those building assessments and already know what the age of the boiler is that we're looking at the bottom of EP or whatever.
Great.
So, good question.
Any additional board, Mr. Epps?
Can you all appreciate the 7 lenses of sustainability, equity, and inclusion? Can you all share any examples of how you all have engaged Indigenous communities? To what extent?
Yeah, that's a good question.
I think
You wanna
I'll
take that one?
that.
You
So
can-
I've worked a lot in the Native American community, spending time on the site and having them speak to the people that also live in their community that they tend not to communicate with. because there can often be a separation. You have to facilitate the dialogue between both of them. They have to hear each other. They have to understand each other, and then have to figure out ways to work together. So around here, we've not worked a lot with indigenous communities, but I've done it in other states.
We actually just, we're working on a project right now at Northampton Community College where we've engaged some representatives from the Lenape Nation as part of our visioning group and our stakeholder group. And so that's been really important as we talk about, what that relationship with the land is and how we start to think about that reconciliation.
That's wonderful and coincidental that it might be some opportunities to pull that into, as you all assess and align. It's the Lenape civilization that
Yes.
lived on this ground as well in Cheltenham. So if there are opportunities to incorporate that as appropriate, I'd really appreciate it.
Yeah, we could definitely, I think that a big part
That's where
of.
you are in that spectrum.
Oh, in the spectrum, we're in the
Like you're
spectrum.
telling us right now.
Yeah.
You're literally telling us where you want to be. Want to make sure you're engaged.
And I'm
that's
one board
really-
member, so.
But it's important, I mean, one of the most important parts of all of this, when we get into this alignment phase, is understanding who is our stakeholder, right? Because, we can say, oh, it's the teachers, it's the students, it's the administrators, it's the parents, right? But who else is it? I think that's a really important part of it. Just the identification of who, we always say, who is our client? It's not just you guys, right? Who's really the client?
Thank you. Any additional board questions? Dr. Whiting, I thought your hand was.
No, I was thinking about the stakeholder groups question, and you pretty much hit most of the stakeholder groups I was thinking of in addition to connecting to the Lenape. I was curious, you said you were looking for feedback on stakeholder groups. Is this the venue for that, or is there another venue that you'd like that?
It
feedback?
depends on your time tonight.
Right,
So you may want to table it and we come
Right.
back to it with a larger group of people. I'm
Yeah.
including some students, I'm including some teachers.
yeah, oh yeah, of
and then
course.
we-
Yeah, I'm thinking about like which groups would be good to touch on in our community, because I mean, our school community is not just the people in our school, it's the people around our schools as well. And so I'm thinking about community members who might have specific content knowledge related to sustainability and that's primarily what I'm thinking about, is what is around the immediate reach of our district and how do we reach the people who might be able to provide input that can be informative of this process, even though they may not have kids in the district or they might go to a charter school or whatever the case may be.
It might be a facilities person from a neighboring district.
Totally,
Down the road a
yes.
little bit. Right, it's the
Yes.
immediate neighbors next to the school that
Yeah.
actually have a different viewpoint of what's happening. You gotta bring all those stakeholders in.
Agreed. Yeah, I was just curious. That's something.
Yes.
Were you asking when
No,
that time it would be? Oh, who? Okay.
yeah,
And I'm just like to say for the board, I think on the topic, because I think it is a good question and it's a critical piece of information. So if there are thoughts, ideas about groups, recommendations of individuals who should be there, feel free to forward to myself. It'll absolutely end up in the hands of the right folks, Dr. Scriven included. So I think in order to kind of make the process work easier, if there are recommendations about what we're hearing tonight, feel free to share that information with the co-chairs and we
Yeah.
can do what
If I
we're
can
doing.
add to that, the conversation with
know, right?
stakeholders just started. Doesn't stop, it's not one meeting.
For sure.
right.
So we can all feed that information to you.
Yeah.
And we'll put it together,
We need to make sure we get David on there.
yeah.
Yo,
just for my knowledge.
David Cohen, so he's a former board member.
We know.
Yes,
Yeah, we know each other.
yes. You talk about a wealth of knowledge about
Yes.
the community.
Yeah.
We tried to make him not leave, but we're trying to get him as a consultant.
I think it is interesting though to think about how the community fits into this as a
Mhm.
stakeholder.
Mhm.
I mean, schools are places where our kids go to learn, but they're centered in communities. And we are, as if any of you have been following what's happening at the township level, we're at an interesting kind of point relative to our facilities and what community
Mhm.
engagement is and how the community, the Cheltenham community utilizes our facilities. So, I think it'd be great to think about how do we build a stronger community around our schools.
Yeah, I think that's a good thing.
Yep, I was taking a note. And any additional questions from the board?
I'm excited.
Yeah, happy to hear that. And I think just from my perspective, same, right? I think we have talked about sustainability. We have, you know, I guess maybe 2 years ago, approved a sustainability resolution, right? So, you know, I think where we are is kind of in a very natural, organic part of the process. It just so happens that we have 3 really old buildings that we also need to kind of figure out what to do at the same time. So I think this is a good place for us, just, you know, speaking from one board member, but I know that just the shared energy of the board, we want to continue to move forward on that continuum.
Yeah.
We're somewhere on that
It's a journey.
continuum now.
Yeah.
We're there now, and we have to
Yeah,
figure out where our.
that's the thing. We gotta help to push everything forward a little bit.
For sure.
Yeah, not too bad, because then you snap, right? We gotta find that delicate balance, but.
Okay, well, thank you for giving us some.
Yeah, I'm not sure if there was if there were anyone. on
Oh,
the
no, it was just,
committee who had
It
any
was just
questions.
us saying thank you, that's all.
Oh, yeah.
No, our,
And is there any,
Zoom,
and
yeah.
we're on
Zoom
Zoom too, so I want to confirm if there's anyone from the community who might want to ask any questions.
Nobody's
Nobody in
hands
the
are
chat.
raised.
Doesn't look like. Could only think of a couple of good questions right now, but that's good. I think that's good. Thank you guys. I
Yeah,
appreciate
thank
it.
you. Thank you so much. It's very exciting to be around the table talking to you all about this. So obviously it's close to home for me, literally. So very excited to be here. Do what I can.
great,
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Great, thank you.
Okay,
There's still more.
there's still more. Okay, board member Charles, Vidal Williams requested an update on the progress of our sustainability efforts. With just 34 panels being swapped out at the high school, I am pleased to report, that shouldn't be larger, but I will just read this off to you, that our initiatives have made a significant impact on the environment thus far. According to the environmental impact summary, our efforts have resulted in the savings of 818 gallons of gas, 17 barrels of oil, 9 acres of trees, and 1 household's annual electricity usage, and 4 tons of coal not burned. These numbers are a testament to the dedication and hard work of our team thus far in implementing sustainable practices in our high school alone. For reducing energy consumption in our facilities, as we continue to prioritize sustainability in our operations, I am confident that we will see even greater impact in the future. It is clear that our commitment to environmental stewardship is not only beneficial for the planet, but also for our bottom line. I look forward to sharing further progress with the board and am grateful for their ongoing support for our sustainability initiatives. And now for a feel-good moment.
You guys can't leave, can you?
Karen Shaffrin, the dedicated environmental club sponsor at our high school, recently led a joint financial venture with the high school and facilities department to create a series of recycling stations on campus. To showcase the hard work and collaboration of the club members, Karen decided to create a captivating video documenting the process of assembling the recycling stations. The footage captures the enthusiasm and determination of the club members as they diligently complete each step of the project. Thanks to Karen Shaffrin's leadership and the dedication of the environmental club, our school is making great strides towards a more environmentally friendly future. Quick one. Yeah, there you go. Is there any sound? They got feedback. So, as you see, they're putting together the bins, and that's our first step of in the marathon. So this concludes my presentation, and I thank you all for your hospitality and attention. And let's get started. You know, let's keep it moving. Thank you.
All right, I appreciate that. Any board questions about the remainder of the information?
Thank you.
Take care, y'all. Good evening.
So just thank you for, let's, we are moving.
I'm not- I'm
Thank
not
you,
yet.
and we we gotta get, but, you know, the students, Ms. Shafra and yourself and your team are getting us there, so thank you, Mr. Holmes.
It's also helpful to see the practical examples.
Exactly.
I'm looking forward to see fewer cars on the road, things like that, so definitely. And we can communicate that to the community as well, so it's exciting.
All right, I don't think we have anyone online for any questions. All right, is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
Everyone in favor? I think so.
Aye.
All right,